and welcome everyone. Carrie and I are so excited today. We've got one of our favorite people, if not our favorite person, on today, Jacqui Luberto, our friend, our hero from Destin, Florida, Realty One Group Emerald Coast. And she's going to tell us today, we're going to have a conversation with you about how we best serve those who serve us so well. One of our favorite offices, Jacqui, ROG Esteem, is on with 11 people today. They have, they're having a watch party. So Jacqui Luberto, tell us a little bit about yourself, a little bit about the nature of your business and why you have become such a great advocate and ambassador for Realty One Group to help with veterans, active military, and spouses.
Well, first and foremost, thank you both ladies for all that you do for us at our office and all of the offices across ROG. We're so blessed to have such a strong education department to keep us on the cutting edge of everything. So thank you both. My husband and I are retired military family. Matt retired in 2014. And so that's number one, just being in the military, right? And then our area, we're in a heavily military populated area. So a lot of our work is with military buyers and sellers. 90% of our agents, we have about 170 in this office, and 90% of them are active duty, guard, reserve, retired military spouses. So there's no way around working with them and loving them and helping them through their career and helping with buyers and sellers, being experts in the VA loan. It's really just a part of everything that we do. I've been licensed for 9 years. And I've been a broker owner for 5.5 years. And really everything that we've done has focused around serving our military community, our military customers, and our military agents. So there you go.
Wow. And I have to say, you have helped me personally overcome, I've been in real estate a long time, and there are a lot of myths when we talk about veterans, and it makes me sad because they're the people that we should be lining up to make sure they have a home. And a lot of times I think some of the myths carry forward and cast a little bit of a shadow and maybe create a situation that we don't run to that business like we should. So let's talk a little bit about that starting out today. First thing I want us to talk about is we're going to talk about skill bridge. We're going to talk about active duty members. We're going to talk about a military spouse situation that I didn't know about until just a little while ago. And then how to make sure that you've got the best VA lender. But first and foremost, if you had to say the one myth of working with the military that people just need to ignore because it's absolutely not true, what would that be?
That the VA home loan is hard.
Okay.
I would take VA loans over any other type all day, every day. It is not a hard loan. It is not a hard process to get through. The military member has earned that benefit just like any other benefit that they get for protecting our country and serving us as citizens of this country. So we are required to know it and to help them and to make sure they get to use that benefit.
Wow. Great. Carrie, what a great question. I'd love to know how many veterans do we have and who do we have? Here we go. Or military spouses. I don't want to overlook. I'm a spouse, Robin. Thank you.
Let me say that for sure. I want to give a little background while they're answering that. My military spouse career was not a career. My husband's career took precedence. And I had considered real estate from time to time. I was told it was too hard. It will take too much money. It's very difficult. You're going to have to relicense every time and you start from zero. And all of that is just untrue. It is untrue. And so instead of having a career that could go with my spouse, there's something that I could build on. I was a GS employee. I was outside sales at a newspaper. I was jokingly laugh, but it's not a joke. I worked at Karen's Burger Barn. Like I have done everything until my husband retired and he said, okay, your turn. Then I was able to really focus on real estate. And it's just been such an incredible thing for us and our family. I wish so many other spouses could lean into that and to take their career seriously through real estate. So hopefully some things we talk about today will help them do that and feel confident that they're not going to have to change. They don't start over every single time. So yeah. I see lots over here.
One of those things, Jacqui, that I think is sometimes overlooked and is such a challenge from what I can hear you say and what I understand you saying is, yeah, it's hard on the family. And of course, it's crazy hard on the actual veteran, but just the family and the kids and the spouse and having to maybe move around a lot and worry and all those things that I think sometimes that's a little bit overlooked and forgotten about.
Yeah, it's kind of cliche to say meet them where they're at, but
Yeah.
you really have to. I recently helped a military family. I had sold them their house in 2016, and the wife called me and said, "My husband is doing training. He's in the field. He is no communication, but he
Oh, so
graduates the day he gets out of the woods and he finds out that he made the program, will immediately get orders and have to leave. So I might have to sell my house, but I might not. Can you help me?" And we did.
oh my
We
gosh.
executed flawlessly. I had to do some unique things to make sure they were protected, but I met her right where she was. It wasn't like, well, if he passes and y'all decide to sell, call me. No,
Yeah.
like figure it out together. They need that help.
Let's talk first about the Skill Bridge program. This is a program that I found out about when I was in your office, but I honestly had never heard anything about it.
SkillBridge is a Department of Defense program that helps active military members transition into a civilian job by allowing them to bridge their skills while they're still active duty. They are on loan to the chosen career field. It can vary anywhere from a couple of weeks to up to 6 months. It's no more than 6 months. And I've heard recently they're trying to pull it back to 4 months. But it really depends on a lot of different factors. So each individual will have to work with their command to figure out what their allotment of time is. But the way that it works, and I have, I believe, 5 Skill Bridge members right now. I have one so they are here in the office working with us as if they are employees. So until they are licensed, which they can choose to be, you cannot force them to get a license, but they can choose to use their time to get licensed. All of mine, well, all but 2 have done that. Until they are licensed, their job is to work in the office. So we give them general office duties. They can answer the phones, they can greet people as they come in, and they can study for their exam. Once they're licensed, they're a licensed real estate agent with Realty One Group, and they go out and work in the market just like a regular agent. What's interesting is they cannot get paid. So if they decide to get their license and they're out selling, they do not earn any of that income, but they do get all of the same mentorship that our new agents get. They get treated just like any other agent. The brokerage, as you know, earns the income. So we have in our office a bonusing system, a sign-on bonus that the agent is really kind of paying into that can help them if they decide to stay with us as an agent. We also have a portion of any money that they earn to help their license with their spouse with their career, if their spouse would like to get their license. So we can help kind of scholarship fund that through the active duty members
Program, and they're working in the office, they can do things like they could build their CRM, they could do what would be realtor type activities once they are licensed and they're able to make money.
So as soon as that license is turned on, they're running. Yes, they've got all the time in the world to work on it, and they use their time very wisely. And the military members are structured, they're organized, they're on time, they over communicate where they're going to be, what they're working on. They're the best. I love working with them.
I love that. And
That's-
so where do you find your participants for this?
They find us.
Okay.
So you have to be approved by DOD. You have to have a program that is written out and organized and submitted for approval. And once it's approved, it's on their website. So any military member who is interested in a skill bridge will go onto the DOD site and search for opportunities. And they'll see lots of different companies that are willing to help train them and bring them under their wing and teach them what they need to know, so that when their departure date or retirement date depends. Some people just do a 4 to 6 year term. Some people do 10, or they fully retire. Whatever the end of service term for them is, when that happens, they're not waking up one day saying, now that this is over, what do I do today? They're already ready.
Wow. That's got to be comforting. Great way to look out for brothers and sisters in the military and help them transition.
We recently started a big social media campaign in our market to highlight those members that have been through our program, because I want to bring more awareness to the people in our area that we have it. So seems to be going great. I've heard a lot of good chatter that they're talking about it. So that's good.
That is great. Go ahead.
Sorry, I was just kind of a quick question for those like broker owners on the call today. How What's the process look like? Just kind of in a very high level
Yeah,
format
I can
for
give you.
something.
You can have a stack of papers this thick sitting on the corner of your desk for about 8 months, unsure what to do about it, and then you hire a company, and then you start working with SkillBridge folks within 2 weeks. We
And
use
Jackie,
Nice.
IC, and they're actually a company that started in our local area. They work nationwide though, and I sold them their house when they moved to this area, I believe in 2017 as well. And so after he retired, Jason, he started this company and they reached out to me. I was one of their first customers. And I'm like, well, here's the stack of papers that have been on the corner of my desk for almost a year. This is what I think we should be doing, but I have not had time to put together a formal plan. They're like, we've got it. And it's beautiful. I love working with them. It's been 2 years, I believe.
well, in all of this, I'm not throwing Jackie out there without her permission. She has said, please get in touch with her if you've got questions about this to make sure, because I think you spent a lot of time getting ready to get ready to get ready, and you have just learned a lot of ways to be successful quickly and kind of what not to do, if you
Yeah.
don't mind, in some of this.
Absolutely. And it's my first and last name at Gmail. Anybody, anytime, message me. I'd love to help you with some best practices to help our military folks. Let me I see. There you go. Yeah, I wasted a lot of time. I wasted a lot of other people's time trying to get my program where it needed to be. And I work on it here and there, how many missed opportunities I had to help military members because they didn't have it ready, how much time I wasted trying to do something that's not in my lane. Yeah, you just got to get the right people in the right lane sometimes.
Well, and I'm sure there's been a huge benefit for the office to have that reputation and designation and friend to the community.
Well, you can talk about it or you can be about it. And so I can tell people all day long that we help military buyers and sellers. Let me show you how I do that by making sure that military members are well trained and available to help you. So you know who they are. They're your brothers and sisters as well. So we try to be about it for sure.
Quote for the day right there. Okay, so let's talk now a little bit about active duty members, because what a great career real estate is for that.
Yeah, so we have quite a few active duty, guard, and reserve members. We have our training and our education set up in a way that it's recorded and archived. And so agents can work in the hours that work best for them. We try to not be the bottleneck and not, we have a military member right now, I think, that is deployed. He should be back home very soon. He's been gone for 6 months. His wife, the military spouse, she's been still working through everything in his absence, doing a fantastic job. So again, whenever you make things available, trying to say it's like in an evergreen way, right? You can tap into videos, you can tap into PDFs, you can tap
Right.
into these trainings, not making everything live in person. You have to be here. We hybrid everything so that no matter where our members are, and this goes for agents who aren't even military, but work a second job. We want to make sure that everything's available. And, corporate has been such a guiding light in that way to watch the way that you guys put stuff out. And if I miss a call or recording, it's always there. I can go to that one resource guide and pull something back up and refresh myself on what I need to know. So we try to do the same.
And thank you. Ashley went in and put that and made sure it was public, s2ic.com. Okay, I want to sidebar just a minute, Jackie, because while we're talking about active military members and we're talking about reserve and guard and all of those, can we pause a moment and talk a little bit and have a little bit of myth buster around eligibility
For the VA loan.
for the VA loan?
Yes, this is something that came up in my office not long ago, that there is a myth in the military world that your eligibility documentation that shows how much you can get in a home loan can only be obtained through a company called Veterans United. And they are a lender and they don't have to go through a specific lender to get it. Certificate of eligibility. And the military member can get it themselves. They don't even have to go through a lender. But there was some misconception happening. I don't know if it's in all markets, but it was happening in this market that they were under the impression they had to go through this one specific lender because the title veterans was in there. And we were like, no, you can get it anywhere. So I did want to clear that up while we have an audience about it.
Okay. So I'm almost tempted to say, let's jump ahead and talk about lenders since you're talking about that. Because is it, the myth I had told you in my market, there were all kind of myths about Dan put one in here that about the one myth was that people think the home doesn't qualify for VA due to condition, or the agent marks the property as not qualified for the VA, and it limits the search for VA buyers. So I really want to explore this. What are the most common, or what are the best practices to make sure that we're serving our military as we should, and that we're getting them the right lender, that we're getting them the COE, all of that?
Well, the right lender will take care of that COE for them, and making sure that you have a lender that understands the VA loan very well. And that, I have to remember that we're talking to a very broad cross section of people. If I'm talking to my agents here, we know who to use, right? But you may be in a market that doesn't have a lot of VA buyers. And so you want to use your local lender, which I love and respect, but they may not be the best person all the time for that loan type. So be inquisitive about how many have you closed? How comfortable are you with that? I also want to go back to something you said, Kathy, about a home not qualifying for a VA loan. So you as an agent can do a really great job of understanding what does make a home qualify for a VA loan. It's a pretty low metric, guys. There's not like a ton, like you can't have wood rot. It's got to have a stove. There's some simple things that really aren't going to make a big difference, right? They're going to be what you find in most homes. Most homes are going to qualify. So if you are the listing agent and you see something that might disqualify that property, talk to the seller about how much they're willing to do to make it open for an entirely different group of buyers, because those buyers are only going to buy homes that are VA eligible. They're not going to pull out of that eligibility and go use a conventional loan. I've rarely ever seen someone change over, but there is no rule and no law against the buyer paying for repairs themselves. So if, let's say, the seller said it's got a rickety handle on the stairwell. Well, yeah, but the buyer loves everything else about this house and it fits perfectly and it's in the school zone that they need and it meets all of these other things. It doesn't mean it cannot qualify. It means that you need to negotiate how certain repairs will get done. And if it's really important to that buyer, they can make those repairs. I'm not suggesting buyers pay for repairs on someone else's home. You have to be very careful with that. But it can be done. And there just isn't a rule that the buyer can't make those repairs or pay for them themselves.
Okay. So what should is there a list of VA lenders? Because a lot of people have their local lender. And like you said, being here in Raleigh, North Carolina is one we don't have a base, right? And it's a little bit out of market. And a lot of people will say, I'm just going to use my lender. They've got a VA program. And what I hear you saying is that person may be a great lender, but they may not be as knowledgeable. So what do we look for? Is there a list other than 1-800-CALL Jacqui, or what does that look like?
It might just be 1-800-CALL Jacqui for sure. But just, I think, asking them how many they've done, how comfortable they are with it. If they've only done 2 in a year, I don't know that would be someone who's well versed in it. Sorry, I see a comment. Several are retired military members. That's a great point. If you have someone who's served in the military as the lender, they're not going to lie to you. They're going to tell you the truth. I know how to do this, or I've only done 2, but I've bought and sold 5 times. And being a good consumer can also translate very easily and very well into being a great lender for that product too.
And Kelly says, she's up in Northern Virginia, and she says that she finds market to market. It can be a little bit different. Now, while we're talking about lending, I want to look at this. I did not know this. Fun fact, you can go on a loan with another veteran. So are you saying that they can go in as investors? How does that work?
Well, I want to tell a funny story about that really quickly. Matt and I got married November 4th in the year 2000 because we were buying a house and they would not use any of my income because he was using a VA loan unless we were married. So we ended up getting married, I think 6 months earlier than planned so we could buy a house. The VA changed that, is what she's saying. So you can have a partner that you're not married to. So multiple vets can go on a loan together. Yes, especially with multi-properties. If you're buying the multi-units, it's a great way.
Melissa says, I have a VA buyer right now and I really hate to limit financing in a search to have VA listed because many agents and sellers don't check the box for a variety of reasons.
So I do the same. I don't limit my searches to what a listing agent says it will qualify for. I find what they like first, and then we can inquire why or why not a particular product might not work. I think that's a good best practice for real estate agents across the board.
Well, let me ask the opposite. When representing a veteran, what has changed with the settlement? And I don't know of anyone to ask better than you, Jacqui. Has anything changed with that? That is certainly not a reason not to work with veterans.
For sure. It used to be the rule that veterans could not pay any compensation on the buyer's side of the transaction. The VA relaxed that as we were coming into the deadline to have it, that August deadline where we had to start using the BBAs with the guaranteed compensation written into that. So they relaxed that rule. I meant to look up and forgot, but I think I read somewhere that they made it official. Instead of it just being, I will relax it and see what happens. But at any rate, VA buyers can now pay buyer side compensation, 100%. And it hasn't really changed. Now, at least in our market, I'll love to watch the comments. But it really hasn't changed our mode of operation. It's just one more conversation with the listing agent of how it's going to be handled. Most sellers, I think, are still doing very similar to what they have always done.
Okay, I agree with that. Elaine's saying, thank goodness they changed the compensation rule. Scott is saying, and he's a veteran, thank you for your service, Scott. Combo with listing agent, well, if we brought you the right offer, would your seller entertain a VA loan? Do you have to have, what conversation, Jacqui, do you recommend for the people participating? Because this is actionable training, and if they can mimic that script and know how to go out and expand who they're working with, intentionally look for VA buyers. Is there a script that goes with that, like Scott is recommending?
Well, I think it's twofold. I love what Scott said. And I think that if you have a buyer that you're working with that's using their VA benefit and you can't find a particular property, or that one saying they're not going to, what he said is a wonderful way to bridge that gap and begin having the conversation. The other side of it is beginning to work with buyers. You want to help, you want to work with VA buyers. You want to be a military liaison type agent. How do you find those buyers? I've said this on another webinar, so don't stop me if you've heard this before, but they are lives, not leads. You have to come into a full heart of service. Military members and the spouses are some of the smartest individuals you will ever meet, and they do not like to be taken advantage of. They have a lot of, it's funny, we'll end up with lists of places we can't go because of people taking advantage of military members. So bases will give you, like, here's a car dealership you can't go to, here's a bar and a restaurant you can't go to. So they're very keen on keeping an eye out for being taken advantage of. So you have to really be authentic. You have to really come from a heart of service. You really have to understand their life, their terminology, the way things are for them and how difficult they can be, how orders change, how orders are dropped, what happens when there's a government shutdown. We just had a 2-hour-long meeting about this morning. So you have to really be that intentional about their lifestyle and their company and the way they work, or you just won't be able to help break into that at all.
And honestly, what I'm learning, and I lean into Jacqui a lot, I know that everything we did for One Primetime, I sent to Jacqui and I said, read through this and make sure that my sense of humor is not offensive. Because I know we can say things, it's just a different language, it's a different way of communication. And we don't want to do anything that would be misinterpreted as a disrespectful thing. So let me read some of these.
Not going to say what it was, but there was one I was like, oh, you can't say that, girl.
I have to be edited. Can seller pay the buyer agent who represents veteran?
I cannot speak to every state. Let me say in Florida, it is very common for the buyer to ask the seller to pay the compensation that the buyer owes via the BBA obligation. Very common.
Okay. We're going to have to meet Ms. Scarborough here. I always reach out to listing agents when they don't have VA marked as a financing option in the MLS. Hey, just calling to see if there's any particular reasons or if this is a mistake and it wasn't clicked during the listing prep. Great great thing to do. Then I'll get the, oh no, it needs a new roof or sewer or whatever. So it's not VA. But
Mhm.
sometimes you'll get what I got yesterday. We sell VA or FHA starting December 7th. Seller hits their 2-year mark on December 6th.
So I want to talk about that, and maybe not for this call, maybe she and I have an offline
Right.
call, but what would be that 2-year mark? I'm not familiar with what the 2-year mark is because I was not aware, well, FHA perhaps, but VA, it would be the seller. Tell me what you mean.
Would they have to hold on to it for 2 years? Is that what she said?
For their taxes, for the sellers, like taxes, 2 out of 5 years for capital gains. Got it. Okay. I was like,
Okay.
of the seller as a VA seller, and I'm like, I don't get that. Okay. Thank you, girl. And yes, let's talk about VA assumptions. I would love to talk about that a little bit. And again, first and last name at Gmail. I have some documents that I put together for my agents. I'm always happy to share those with you guys. Some 101s, best practices for assumptions. But essentially, if someone is trying to sell their house, and I know in our market, there's a lot of inventory. So whatever we have to do to make that house the prettiest, we're going to do. And if that means letting you assume a 2.5 on $250,000 of your new loan, then we're going to work through that. So if the home, let's just make it easy, is selling for 500,000 and you can assume 250,000 at 2.5, you've got to get another loan or pay cash for that extra $250,000. So you can't go to a traditional lender and just say, hey, I need another loan for 250,000 to go with this loan. Your additional has to be with the servicer of the loan. So while your buyer might be pre-qualified with your local lender, they're not going to be able to use that lender. They've got to use the one that carries the first position loan that's being assumed. Did that make sense?
Yeah, that makes perfect
Okay.
sense. It's all got to be under one loan, even
Gotta
though
be
part
under
of it
one
is
loan.
assumption, but it's got to be bundled. It's got to be together.
So VA loans are assumable. So that's a period at the end of that sentence. I have yet to see anybody not get one. It's on the recorded document, so that's easy to find out. I just never want to say always, never, you can count on it, right? There's going to be 1 in a million and be like, but Jacqui said. Anyway, the servicer can let you know. You get a point of contact from that servicer. It can take a little bit longer, sometimes 60 to 90 days. So as long as everybody's on the same page, it's a great thing to do. It helps the military member. Let's also talk about the person assuming does not have to be military.
See, that's a myth.
Correct. Unless the seller says so. And the reason the seller may say so is their eligibility, that COE from before, is tied into that loan. So if they sell it to a non-military member, that COE stays there because the non-military member doesn't have any eligibility to transfer over. So if the seller needs, go ahead.
So just clarify around that. Let's go back to your example of the house is 500,000. We assume 250,000 of the loan that was assumable VA loan. You're saying the veteran then goes to the next house and they have negated that 250,000. They may have more, but that 250 stays there. Is it the life of the loan?
Yes, until it's paid off and
Okay.
a new borrower has the eligibility tied up and they default.
That was
It
my next
reflects
question.
negatively on the eligibility for the service member. And I want to say it's 7 or 8 years. I'm sure one of my agents who knows this is going to chime in down here in a minute. And they won't be able to use the VA loan for that period of time until a part of it is paid back. It gets very nuanced. And I don't want to tell y'all that I'm tap dancing around. I know it exists, but I don't try to memorize VA circulars. I know where to go find it. So if I have this situation come up, I can educate. And all of the VA
Right.
circulars are public. You guys can go pull all of them and read all of this information. So I just don't want to be the source. I want to, because Christy said, why would the seller take that risk and let someone assume? Because the military said you need to be in Quantico, Virginia in 14 days. And there's 32 houses on the market in his neighborhood. And he can't rent it out either. And something's got to give. So he's got to make some decision. And this is sometimes the one that makes it, again, how many buyers can you market your property to? If it's an assumption, that's only to VA buyers, it's a smaller pool than saying, I will let anybody assume this property.
Well, and I think another myth, and tell me if I'm wrong or not, but there's a little bit of a myth, I think especially with younger military, that they're not well funded, that they're using VA because they're not qualified otherwise. And that is just not true.
It's not true. It is not true. It is a benefit they have earned. Just because they have earned the right to use the VA medical facilities doesn't mean they have to, but they have the right to. And it's the same with the home loan benefit. They have the right to purchase with nothing down. If you were selling properties to VA buyers in 2021 and early 22, you know what I'm talking about. They were still buying homes. They were willing to put more money down. They have access to the funds that they need. It does not mean they don't have the money. It means they're eligible to use a benefit made available to them, and we should fight for their right to do so.
Absolutely. I want to go back and just echo something you said. You said some powerful one-liners, but lives, not leads. I want people to really sit with that for just a moment, that we are really talking about people that serve our country, people that, leave their families or to go and serve, and relocate their families to go and serve, and very often pull their kids out of school, leave their churches, leave their communities. So this is really, you're really giving back in a way that is very, very important for this country to do this. So this is a big deal for us. This is hard for us. And keep in mind, Veterans Day is coming up November.
Yeah. Usually I think it's the 11th. I should have memorized that ahead of time. It is 11/11. Got it.
So that's right. So we
Well,
want to do
and
what we
all
can
of
to
this-
honor.
I was just gonna say, in all of this, Jackie, what I'm hearing is that the agents also need to be super educated on this to be able to take this on and to understand what, their buyer or seller as a veteran is open to, and what they can get from the buyers and the lenders and, all the different things. And I think for me, Kathy, and we talk about this a lot, commercial is one of those things that's scary to me. And as an agent, military might be right up there. So I think familiarizing ourselves and educating ourselves is absolutely crucial to be able to give back for that.
It's the least we can do.
Absolutely.
I'm going to give you one more of those one-liners, Kathy. You ready?
Yeah.
When you have the ability, you've got the responsibility. So you guys have your license, you're serving buyers and sellers already in your market. So you're right there. You just need a little bit more to make sure that you're the best person for a military member to be able to use the benefit that they have earned. You've got that responsibility on your shoulders to do that for them.
We have so many in our network who have served. We've got the huge population of broker owners, and much like you and Matt, Carissa and Ernest Jones and Augusta have come in and they've opened a brokerage and just really giving back. Let's talk now, if we could, about the military spouses. And I think they get overlooked, Jackie.
Mm-hmm. They do.
They're like the preacher's wife. I want you to think about this. I'm going to go Southern on y'all. I've always felt, because I've worked with a lot of wives of ministers, and I've always said, those pastors were called to serve, and the wives may not have been, right? And so I feel the same way about military. They go in and they have a commitment and a service, and then the wives, not only wives, I don't want to be gender sensitive here. The spouses go along, and it's tough. They kind of get left behind sometimes with the kids and the responsibilities and the packing. And
yeah, it can definitely be hard when this happened to us twice, moving during deployments. So he would leave and go overseas and come home to a new house.
Oh my gosh.
Whatever we have to do while, so it was sometimes it was moving on to base or moving off base. His very first deployment, he came home. We were in the TLF, the hotel, the base hotel, waiting for him to get off a plane, get his bags, and our flight left to go overseas the next morning. It was just wild. Our stuff was already on a ship, we had 3 kids. So it can be really, really hard to navigate a career like that, and to want to be on the ladder, building those steps and wanting more for yourself, and just have it felt ripped away time after time. And I've done every manner of job before becoming a real estate agent and doing this. Sorry, get emotional. It was hard. I was working up the GS ladder, and I had to start from the very bottom in the NAF world for any of my people who know these terms. And I worked all the way up. I was GS11 qualified manpower analyst. And I've worked also at Karen's Burger Barn. And I've also sold newspaper ads in the Tularosa Basin in Alamogordo, New Mexico. Like it's just up and down and up and down and up and down. There's no linear path for a military spouse to be able to build a career, because even if she is on the GS track to work alongside and go to that new base, there's no guarantee there's a job at the next base where you're going. So all of that to say, I had considered real estate a couple of different times. And anytime I talked to a real estate agent, they were very negative, to be frank. It's very hard. It's going to be very expensive. You're going to need at least 6 months of income saved up. You're not going to make any money. As long as your family can support it. So I'm like, no, like I can't do any of that. That sounds terrible. I don't know why anybody would do that. But now in the situation that I'm in, I see agents come out the gate successfully. Yeah, it's a minute. It's not going to be day one, but I don't see agents having to wait 6 months for a closing and having to have 6 months of expenses. I think maybe now things are a little more digital than they were, greater than 10 years ago. But all of this to say, Military Spouse Career Portability Act really helped you guys get your license and be able to take that from market to market and not have to start over every single time.
Let's ask how many people on the call know what that is. Say this act again.
Of course, Sharonda knows.
Of course she knows. Okay, Kelly does. Kelly said earlier she does a lot of business. Scott
Good.
Bergman's never heard of it. I can't wait, Bergman, for you to hear this.
This is something that I just I knew nothing about. Like this is incredible, because that's the first thing I thought of. Okay, cool. Like moving around, what if I get my license in Texas and now I'm moving to Florida? Like what happens?
Yep. The other states have to recognize your license. You still have to do certain applications and some certain paperwork in each state, but they have to recognize your license, and you can be reimbursed up to $1,000 for administrative fees for that license transfer. So it's definitely worth looking into.
So you have the right of reciprocity basically in any state that you go into.
With PCS orders.
Wow.
Good job, Sharonda.
I just never knew that. I never knew that. And I would have thought
it's better than reciprocity. And that is true, because with reciprocity, you still have to usually take core law or something to that effect. This one is just an application. Your license expires when your order's expired. That's interesting. I had no idea.
And you said you have up to $1,000 granted to cover license expenses. And can you pay NAR dues with that, I wonder?
I doubt it. I don't know, but we'll find out. Sharonda says yes. She should be on this call, not me.
I'm going to track her down.
She's my
ask everybody. It's going to be really hard for Jacqui to email things to you. So if you can make sure you write down her email again and just contact her. I know, Linda Scarberry, you said you wanted some of those reports, and someone else wanted them. So just make sure you write that down. Jay, I think you had said the assumption loan docs, please. So let's make sure that we get that. And there it is again.
As you can pay everything and then get reimbursed up to $1,000, but annually these dues are ours. Yeah, the NAR's on ours.
So Elaine says, I don't think I qualify as I got my license after my husband left the military.
I think that is outside of the parameters and spirit of what the intent was with that.
So it's
you know what? Read it anyway, Elaine, and become a little expert on it, because there's definitely going to be somebody who needs your guidance.
Now, I know, Jacqui, we offer through NAR a military designation that's available on 1.u. Do you recommend that? Do you
recommend it?
Okay.
Highly recommend it. As a military spouse, and for my other spouses on here, we can correct the errors in that. We know that it's not all encompassing. The MRP, Military Relocation Professional, it is not really going to teach you everything you need to know, but it is a great first step, and it's a great way to show the military community that you are engaged, you're trying, you're putting the work in, and it's a great referral source as well from MRP to MRP. So definitely,
I'll say this. It's a designation and certification that you don't have to relocate and you don't have to commit 4 years, right? It's much simpler than that. And my thought would be that it would give you language. What I'm finding in talking with Jacqui is she'll say, don't say that, which my mom always said that too, but I listened to Jacqui. But she'll say, don't say that, or phrase it this way, or phrase it that way. I think that designation is going to help you communicate better, not look like such a rookie, if you will, even regardless of your experience.
Speak the
Well,
language
Jack,
for
what
sure.
additionally, you said that would be a good start. What's next steps after that to continue or to get more better education?
Find a veteran organization in your community. And I don't care if you have a military base or not, there is a veteran organization that needs volunteers. There's an American Legion, vet halls, USOs at the airport that are always looking for volunteers. Get to know the military community that is in your area, and you will be so rewarded. There's some wonderful people in those communities.
Kelly says she works with Leashes of Valor. Do you find that a lot of people, when they retire, they move back to locations that they were
Yeah.
assigned to? That
Yep.
they see, to me, that's
Or back home.
or back home.
Yeah.
That's why I think that's why that would be rich in referrals, to invest time in that community.
Yep, absolutely. And again, it can't be contrived. There was an agent a couple of months ago that made a post. I want to say it was probably like lab coat agents. And she said, I'm considering using military as my pipeline for my business. And she was slaughtered in real time. Like, that's just not the vibe. You really have to be service first. It really matters a lot to them, to us.
Rewarding it is. I mean, I think a lot of us got into this industry initially because of the passion we have to help people. And imagine just exponentially how high that bucket can get full for you when you help a veteran. I just can't, I'm like getting emotional, but that's pretty incredible.
And there are organizations in every single city.
And we also stress to be a resource, not a sales pitch. And my heart goes to the Jackies that were left with 3 children that have to pack a house on a pod and make sure it gets on a ship. And I just think about how each one of us on this call today could be so resourceful to provide information and support to people, whether they're coming or going. So government employment programs have a requirement to show priority for veterans. I wish we did. We should do the same.
Well, the ones that are on this call are doing that. So thank you.
Yes, thank you for doing that. So I'm thinking we go to Miami a month.
Let's go.
Who's going to Miami in a month to Summit? Put it in the chat line, because we're thinking we have a little meetup, and we'll let you know where. Paul, Jennifer, Kelly.
Let's out. Let's share some referrals, some real estate war stories over a drink.
Yeah, I think that'd be great. I'd love to see, Jacqui and I have talked about before, any ideas, send to coaching at realty1group.com. Jacqui, we need a network, and I'll be the first to say I was a big part of it failing to launch before. And I don't know if it was the time of day we did it, the lack of consistency, but man, I'm so committed to you and to this. I'd love to see us launch something, and would love any feedback to come to coaching at realty1group.com, that we could do something sustainable to support the realtors, to keep you in front of our service people. Maybe we make it lives, not leads. I can't say mastermind anymore. I'm going to have to come up with a new term. Carrie and I do mastermind, and we kind of cringe because it's
Yeah.
a little bit overused.
Well, I've got a couple of fun URLs we can play with. So.
Okay. Okay. Any questions? We've got a few minutes left. Sharonda, we want you to join us all the time. And if you're coming to Miami for one summit, man, we want to hug.
Yeah, for sure.
And even if you're not, we can hug you virtually with some of our next episodes. 2 weeks from today, which will be the 15th, Carrie and I are going to be hosting One Prime Time for Your Business Plan. So one thing I want to encourage everyone is give yourself time to go in and pull. And Jacqui, if you've got any websites that they can pull and get information about serving the military, man, let's add that to your business plan to work aggressively and wholeheartedly. Not to make it your pipeline, but to add it to service of how you're giving back.
I got it. I know exactly how to build it out, and I will do that.
Okay. In 1.u, it's under the NAR, John. It's under the NAR tile. You can go in and find it there. All right. We might finish a little bit early, Jacqui. This has been incredible. Incredible.
Well, thank you, ladies, very much for the opportunity to talk about our veterans and our military spouses that we love so very much and want to support in every way that we can through buying, selling, and from their license perspective as well.
I love that we've talked about SkillBridge. Please find out more about that. I love that we found out ways to support other than and in addition to home ownership. So thank you. We appreciate you. Thank you, Carrie.
Bye.